The very first chapter starts in the Joseon dynasty, in a northern village where barbarians have attacked. The condition of the village is dreadful, as they are frequently besieged. The destruction they have wrought is evident. They slaughter every living being without sympathy, even for children. The scene opens with the barbarians attacking the village, and there are no government officials to save the people. They set houses on fire and kill anyone who crosses their emotionless gaze. Everyone is running for their lives. A villager woman, cradling her newborn child, comes into the sight of a barbarian. She cries, asking him to spare her child. In response, he coldly states that the child will die and that she will come with them. As he raises his sword to strike the child, someone swiftly cuts off his arm. The barbarian screams upon realizing his lost limb and turns to the mysterious figure who dared to attack him. As he retreats, his eyes widen in shock and fear as he utters, "Gwiyoung." It is famously said among the barbarians that whoever encounters him never returns, as he kills with little hesitation. He is likened to the Grim Reaper, with his name meaning ghost shadow, derived from Gwi, meaning ghost, and young, meaning shadow. A major character is introduced here. The next scene shows the king inspecting the devastation caused by the barbarians. An old man recounts the disastrous effects of these murderers, explaining that they have lived in this atmosphere for years, making children orphans. He describes the northern region as akin to an underworld. In winter, there are only two options: die from the freezing temperatures or at the hands of barbarians. He wonders if the king is merely unaware or pretending ignorance of his land's plight, or if he believes it to be cursed. Unaware of the king's arrival to inspect the aftermath of the previous night's attack, the old man continues speaking. Suddenly, a young man with a sword attempts to attack the king, but the guards intervene. Filled with anger and hatred, he challenges the king, asking what he has come for now that everything is over. The guards warn him that they will cut his throat if he speaks to the majesty like that, but the king stops them, admitting it is his fault for being ignorant of his people's suffering. The young man's sister approaches, apologizing to the king as she tries to pull him away. He resists, demanding she let go of him. The king, confused by the situation, is informed by the old man that these are the children who lost their parents 7 years ago. He explains that the whole village was wiped out by the barbarians, and the children have been aimlessly wandering since then. Upon hearing this, the king feels disheartened. The old man points to a bloodied woman who became a widow last year and has now lost her child to the barbarians. He also mentions children weeping over their father's dead body. The king orders his officials to find Gwiyoung as soon as possible, posting a reward notice for information about him. In ancient times, literacy was reserved for the elite, and no one in the region could read the notice. They ask one another if anyone can read it. One individual struggles to decipher the characters, finally reading the word Gwi and informing the public that the king is looking for Gwiyoung and offering a jade plaque as a reward. This plaque allows the winner to receive anything they desire without having to prove their worth in a competition, regardless of their social status. Curious about Gwiyoung, the same individual asks if anyone knows him. Someone in the crowd mentions that Jang Granny from Undertown has seen him. The crowd rushes to ask Jang Granny about Gwiyoung, sharing rumors about him. One says he stands about 2 cheoks tall, while another claims he resembles a monster. Jang Granny interrupts, stating that he avoids others and doesn't socialize, with rumors suggesting he kills indiscriminately. However, she clarifies that he only slaughters barbarians. The individual who read the notice concludes that there is no solid information about Gwiyoung. Unbeknownst to the crowd, Gwiyoung listens to their conversation from behind. Unperturbed, he makes his way to a restaurant. The owner, feeling fearful of his appearance, approaches to take his order. Gwiyoung requests a bowl of tokju, a type of unrefined rice wine, but is interrupted by another person who changes the order to 2 bowls. He, without feeling any fearful emotions from Gwiyoung, asks him politely if sharing tables will not be an issue. Gwiyoung answers him that there are many empty places to sit. The polite young person replies that he wants to sit here and thinks that is enough explanation. Gwiyoung asks him if he has any business with him, and he immediately utters his name, which shocks him. His expression is one of surprise, wondering how he identified him. or if he knows him. But he skillfully absorbs his expressions and questions him in response, asking how he did know him. The young man sitting opposite to Gwiyoung answers him while putting tteokju in his bowl, recounting an incident that happened a few years ago when he was saved by him, and ever since then, he has been searching for him. Gwiyoung denies his assumptions, questioning if he has mistaken the wrong person. The young man, fully confident in his perception, continues the discussion by asking if Gwiyoung knows that, no matter how one kills a person, their spirit moves along with their killer. He further explains that he learned this through his father, who mentioned that the king has organized a special royal bodyguard force for the elimination of barbarians in the northern region. This statement makes Gwiyoung uneasy about the killed spirits. He cannot stop himself from asking about the Jurchens. The young man responds that, although it is a hard fact, he and his father have a subjective purpose for revenge against the barbarians, as he lost his mother last year because of them. He suggests that Gwiyoung may also have a grudge against them, proposing that they join forces for the rest of their lives to erase them from the region entirely. Agreeing with his plan, Gwiyoung responds that he can do what he is doing, although he could do even better. He will provide him with emotional as well as material support. During his flow of speech, he pronounces his name, whereupon he, wanting to remain unbothered, asks for an apology. The young man introduces himself, starting with his family background. Il from the Tae family, named Teil. Gwiyoung warns him that he may die because of him, to which Teil replies that he follows him because he is willing to die. Cheers to their partnership. The next scene shifts to outside the palace, where the same siblings are arguing. The brother is asking his sister to acknowledge him as Gwiyoung in front of the king, but the sister adheres to her point that she will not answer him. A crowd has gathered after hearing their argument, introducing themselves as Gwiyoung. The king questions one of his officers, asking if he is confident that Gwiyoung is present among these people. Upon witnessing the hilarious state of people claiming to be Gwiyoung while beating each other, Gwiyoung and Tae-il enter the scene. He makes a path through the crowd towards the palace. Tae-il informs the king that he comes after learning that His Majesty is looking for Gwiyoung, so he has come along with him. The king asks Gwiyoung if he is really him. In response, Tae-il confirms that he is, as he has witnessed him killing the barbarians. After this affirmation, Gwiyoung questions the king about the real purpose of forming the special force. Is it to subjugate the barbarians? The king replies that the war between Joseon and the Jurchen lies within this nation because previous kings have identified the Jurchen as their enemy, thus starting this murderous cycle. Infuriated by this answer, Gwiyoung argues that the Jurchen have always responded to this nation, asserting that the real cause of this conflict is the neglect of the nation's king. Tae-il asks him to consider what he is saying. The king responds by labeling him a sophist, aligning with his statement and making him accountable by stating that he is also making the same mistake that was made in the past by neglecting his duty. He asserts that Joseon has never neglected the northern region. Burning with anger, Gwiyoung declares that he will accept this statement if the king comes outside and says those words through his own lips. The twist in the story is that, except for the official standing beside the king, nobody knows about the king's appearance. When he states that he is speaking through his own lips, the public is shocked to discover that he is the real king. All the people get to their knees upon hearing about the king, Sejong Waidu, the fourth king of Joseon. However, Gwiyoung does not kneel and is urged by Tae-il to get on his knees in front of the king. That on the other side, the woman who was saved by Gwiyoung from the barbarian attacks at the start of the story approaches the palace. She informs the security guard that she has come after hearing the notice. She claims to have seen Gwiyoung with her own eyes and was saved by him from the attack yesterday. The woman captures the king's attention and asks the guard what the matter is. The guard informs him that the woman is claiming to have seen Gwiyoung, as she is one of the survivors from last night's massacre. At that moment, she sees the person everyone perceives as Gwiyoung turn his face toward her. She falls down in fear and shock, exclaiming what the monster is doing among the public, stating that she saw him clearly ripping apart people among the barbarians. Tae-il, addressing him again as Gwiyoung, asks what the woman is saying. He instantly covers his face with his hands and pushes himself away, telling him that what he had said was true. He may die because of him. The king declares that he will unite Jurchen and Joseon. After discovering his true identity, the people move toward him with weapons in hand to kill him, but he, being a monster, rips them apart. The king is escorted inside, while Tae-il blames himself for not fully realizing that those vindictive spirits were from Joseon, not the barbarians. The monster charges toward the king with a weapon in hand, demanding to know how he can run after calling himself the king. The attack is countered by the same boy fighting with his sister, shocking both the perceived Gwiyoung and the king. The boy plunges the same weapon into the monster's stomach while he is attacking the king. The king instantly recognizes him. The boy, with a scarf on his head, steps forward to fight the monster, revealing that he has been living in disguise as a human and declares how many times he has to tell them that he is Gwiyoung. The scarf comes loose during the struggle against the monster, and Tae-il sees the vindictive spirits on his back, finally recognizing him as the real Gwiyoung.